problem. All right, y'all. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Oh, I forgot to put my water back in here. Alright, y'all. I use my little table topics as bookmarks. And then sometimes I drop them when I'm talking, and I forget to pick them up. Then Bella get a hold of it, and she take it and she go to play with it, and I never see that particular table topic again. Y'all know what table topics are, right? Okay, so they probably should have, well, they do have them in some restaurants, but since the days of COVID, they don't. Okay, so these little things right here, like half of them are missing out of here. But anyway, table topics, they're like conversation starters. We got a couple of different ones, but these ones we sit right here. So like me and James will be sitting here, me and one of the kids or something, we'll, instead of just sitting here staring at one another in the face, well, and not talking about anything, or just talking about toys or asking for Robux, which is money for Roblox. I'm like, look, pull a table topic, child. Let's talk about something else. They're pretty good. It's a lot of different questions. It's like those games for couples, conversation starters. They got a lot of different ones, but they're pretty good. I think we've gone just about through all of the ones, and these ones sitting right here. I'm about to order some more, but they're pretty good. I like they're funny. What's up? Lavon, hey girl, hey auntie, hey girl, hey. Oh, no, closing this up. Let me go ahead and get started. All right, y'all. It is Sunday, July the 18th, 2021, day 209 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count is at 878, y'all. Today we're reading Jeremiah 7, 8, and 9. Did I say that? Nope, I didn't. And then Fossilized Customs, we're going to pick up where we left off at on page 244. Yeah, 244. Okay, y'all, so let's do the Shema real quick, then we'll get started with the reading for today. All right, remember the Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, starting at verse 3. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the Elohim of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our mighty one, he is one, and you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah, our mighty one, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah, our mighty one, as he has commanded us. All right, y'all, so let's hop right to it. Jeremiah chapter 7. Okay. Okay. So Jeremiah speaks at the temple. Yahuwah gave another message to Jeremiah. He said, "Go to the entrance of Yahuwah's temple and give this message to the people. O Judah, listen to this message from Yahuwah. Listen to it, all of you who worship here. This is what Yahuwah, the God of heaven's armies, the God of Israel, says. Even now, if you quit your evil ways, I will let you stay in your own land. But don't be fooled by those who promise you safety simply because Yahuwah's temple is here." They chant, "Yahuwah's temple is here. Yahuwah's temple is here." Right? Like, I can see people saying that. This place gonna be destroyed, huh? When Yahuwah's temple is sitting right here. Yeah, Yahuwah's temple is here. We're gonna see how far these words of destruction of yours go, right? Even now, if you quit your evil ways, I will let you stay in your own land. But don't be fooled by those who promise you safety simply because Yahuwah's temple is here. They chant, Yahuwah's temple is here. Yahuwah's temple is here. But I will be merciful only if you stop your evil thoughts and deeds and start treating each other with justice. Only if you stop exploiting foreigners, orphans, and widows. Only if you stop your murdering, and only if you stop harming yourselves by worshiping idols. Then I will let you stay in this land that I gave your ancestors to keep forever. Don't be fooled into thinking that you will never suffer because the temple is here. It's a lie. Do you really think you can steal, murder, commit adultery, lie, and burn incense to Baal and all those new gods of yours, and then come here and stand before me in my temple and chant, "We are safe," only to go right back to all those evils again? Don't yourselves admit that this temple, which bears my name, has become a den of thieves? Surely, I see all the evil going on here. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. Go now to the place at Shiloh where I once put the tabernacle that bore my name. See what I did there because of all the wickedness of my people, the Israelites. While you were doing these wicked things, says Yahuwah, I spoke to you about it repeatedly, but you would not listen. I called out to you, but you refused to answer. So just as I destroyed Shiloh, I will now destroy this temple that bears my name, this temple that you trust in for help, this place that I gave to you and your ancestors. I will send you out of my sight into exile, just as I did your relatives, the people of Israel. Listen, Judah's persistent idolatry. And remember, y'all pay attention. Remember how I told y'all, like the first time, I was completely shocked when I heard Yahuwah say to Jeremiah, stop praying for these people. We're about to hear it the first time through the book of Jeremiah, verse 16. Pray no more for these people, Jeremiah. Do not weep or pray for them, and don't beg me to help them, for I will not listen to you. Don't you see what they're doing throughout the towns of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem? No wonder I am so angry. Watch how the children gather wood and the fathers build sacrificial fires. See how the women knead dough and make cakes to offer to the Queen of Heaven. We know who the Queen of Heaven is, right? Semiramis, Tammuz, mama wife, Nimrod's, Nimrod's mama wife, which gave birth to Tammuz, who was reincarnated by Nimrod. We read about that, right? Okay, listen. No wonder I am so angry. Watch how the children gather wood and the fathers build sacrificial fires. See how the women knead dough and make cakes to offer to the Queen of Heaven, and they pour out liquid offerings to their other idol gods. Am I the one they are hurting, asked Yahuwah? Most of all, they hurt themselves to their own shame. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I will pour out my terrible fury on this place. Its animals, people, trees, and crops will be consumed by the unquenchable fire of my anger. This is what Yahuwah, the God of heaven's armies, the God of Israel, says. Take your burnt offerings and your other sacrifices and eat them yourselves. When I led your ancestors out of Egypt, it was not burnt offerings and sacrifices that I wanted from them. This is what I told them: obey me, and I will be your God, and you will be my people. Do everything as I say, and all will be well. So let's go back and repeat that again, because we always talk about this, right? We always talk about this. First of all, we pointed out that when they had sacrifices, unless it was a burnt offering, they were eaten, right? But also, remember, as of lately, we've realized something about the sacrifices, that it actually had been added leaven into the loaf, right? Because Yahuwah was always saying that, listen, I don't even want any of that, right? This is what y'all wanted to do. This is what the other nations do. Other nations make sacrifices and sacrifice the innocent for the sins of the wicked. Don't do that. Don't worship me like that, right? Listen, I repeat it again, starting at verse 21. This is what Yahuwah, the God of heaven's armies, the God of Israel, says. Take your burnt offerings and your other sacrifices and eat them yourselves. When I led your ancestors out of Egypt, it was not burnt offerings and sacrifices I wanted from them. This is what I told them: obey me, and I will be your God, and you will be my people. Do everything as I say, and all will be well. But my people would not listen to me. They kept doing whatever they wanted, following the stubborn desires of their evil hearts. They went backward instead of forward. From the day your ancestors left Egypt until now, I have continued to send my servants, the prophets, day in and day out. But my people have not listened to me or even tried to hear. They have been stubborn and sinful, even worse than their ancestors. Tell them all this, but do not expect them to listen. Shout out your warnings, but do not expect them to respond. Say to them, this is the nation whose people will not obey Yahuwah their God and who refuse to be taught. Truth has vanished from among them. It is no longer heard on their lips. Shave your head in mourning and weep alone in the mountains, for Yahuwah has rejected and forsaken this generation that has provoked his fury. The Valley of Slaughter. The people of Judah have sinned before my very eyes, says Yahuwah. They have set up their abominable idols right in the temple that bears my name, defiling it. They have built pagan shrines at Topheth, the garbage dump, in the valley of Ben Hinnom, and there they burn their sons and daughters in the fire. I have never commanded such a horrible deed. It never even crossed my mind to do such a thing. Highlight that, please. Highlight that, please. And let's think about something, right? If Yahuwah calls this burning the innocent, or killing the innocent, slaughtering the innocent for the sins of the wicked, if he tells us it's horrible, it's abominable, right? He never even thought about it. He said it never even crossed my mind to do such a thing. If he says that to us in regards to what we do to try to relate to him, do you think, let's use some common sense and some deductive reasoning, like we've been learning about the last few days, let's kind of just lay everything out with all the information we have, and let's just, because of this, we know that this doesn't happen, and because of this, we know that doesn't happen, and because we don't do this, certainly, we definitely don't do this, right? Because we weren't allowed to do it over here. It can't be done this way. So what makes you think that's going to change and make it okay over here when it still falls under those same lines of abominable acts, right? And just because he's God, would he do it to prove a point to us? Absolutely not. How could we trust him if he did such a thing? You tell us not to kill our sons and daughters, but then it said that you go and kill your son for our wicked sins, that we may live. Something ain't right. You can do it, but we can't. I mean, you can do it, but we can't, right? Something ain't right about that, y'all. How would we be able to trust him? How would we be able to trust him that says, look, do what I say, don't do what I do? Isn't that the same thing? If he tells us that spilling the blood, killing the innocent for the sins of the wicked is wrong, which is exactly what is taught in the New Testament, wasn't JC innocent? The one they called Jesus, wasn't he innocent? Didn't it say that he died for the sins of the wicked? Do we ever think about that? We have to use deductive reasoning and common sense and be able to separate the truth from the error. Until we can realize that, or until we can stop denying that point, we will be able to clearly see all of the leaven that has been added. And we can make conscious decisions to now put away the error, completely separated from the truth, right? Stand on the truth, put away the foolishness and the error. Rebuild our lives on a solid foundation on complete truth. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be hard. It's going to be hard because of how others begin to treat you now. But it's not hard to do, right? You have to get over your own pride and your own thinking and, well, oh, well, I've kept this, I've done this all my life. Well, you've been doing it wrong all your life, right? Thank y'all for his mercy and his grace until you woke up from out of your ignorant state, right? I'm just telling you, let's just read this again, people. Let's read this again. Starting at verse 30, the paragraph named or titled "The Valley of Slaughter." The people of Judah have sinned before my very eyes, says Yahuwah. They have set up their abominable idols right in the temple that bears my name, defiling it. They have built pagan shrines at Topheth, the garbage dump in the valley of Ben Hinnom, and there they burn their sons and daughters in the fire. I have never commanded such a horrible deed. It never even crossed my mind to command such a thing. So beware, for the time is coming, says Yahuwah, when that garbage dump will no longer be called Topheth or the valley of Ben Hinnom, but the valley of slaughter. They will bury the bodies in Topheth until there is no more room for them. The bodies of my people will be food for the vultures and wild animals, and none will be left to scare them away. I will put an end to the happy singing and laughter in the streets of Jerusalem. The joyful voices of bridegrooms and brides will no longer be heard in the towns of Judah. The land will lie in complete desolation. Tiffany, peace and blessings. Look, so we can move over here to the next section. And you will, if you're familiar with the book of Revelation, while we're going through these major books of the prophet, well, not major, all you get that from the church, major and minor prophets, but they're really not labeled major and minor. The only reason why that they name them major and minor is because those books are bigger in volume, right? At least what they've canonized seems to us in the book that's canonized to be bigger than the smaller books like Amos and Joel and Habakkuk, Zechariah, Zephaniah, Haggai, all of them, Hosea, right? They seem, based on what they canonized, it would seem to us that they're smaller, right? Versus the bigger books, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel, right? Mom, shalom, shalom. But, all it takes is just a little bit of light research, y'all. A little bit of light research. And you see that there wasn't such a thing as major and minor, so to speak, right? It's simply the way they term stuff. All right, y'all. Last chapter for the day, Jeremiah, chapter 8. Hold on. Hold on. Let me make sure I didn't. Hold on, y'all. Okay. I was right. Okay. I hit the wrong back button and it took me back to the beginning of what you call it. 9. Okay. Jeremiah chapter 9, last chapter for the day. If only my head were a pool of water and my eyes a fountain of tears, I would weep day and night for all my people who have been slaughtered. Oh, that I could go away and forget my people and live in a traveler's shack in the desert, for they are all adulterers, a pack of treacherous liars. This is Jeremiah, right? Remember, Jeremiah is called the weeping prophet because he was always crying out for us, right? And he said, only if my head were a pool of waters and my eyes a fountain of tears, I would weep day and night for all my people who have been slaughtered. Oh, that I could get away and forget my people and live in a traveler's shack in the desert, for they all are adulterers, a pack of treacherous liars. Judgment for disobedience. My people bend their tongues like bows and shoot out lies. They refuse to stand up for the truth. They only go from bad to worse. They do not know me, says Yahuwah. Beware of your neighbor. Don't even trust your brother. For brother takes advantage of brother, and friend slanders friend. They all fool and defraud each other. No one tells the truth. With practiced tongues, they tell lies. They wear themselves out with all their sinning. They pile lie upon lie and utterly refuse to acknowledge me, says Yahuwah. Therefore, this is what Yahuwah, the God of heaven's army, says. See, I will melt them down in a crucible and test them like metal. What else can I do with my people? For their tongues shoot lies like poison arrows. They speak friendly words to their neighbors while scheming in their hearts to kill them. Should I not punish them for this, says Yahuwah? Should I not avenge myself against such a nation? I will weep for the mountains and wail for the wilderness pastures, for they are desolate and empty. The lowing of cattle is heard no more. The birds and wild animals have all fled. I will make Jerusalem into a heap of ruins, says Yahuwah. It will be a place haunted by jackals. The towns of Judah will be ghost towns with no one living in them. Who is wise enough to understand all of this? Who has been instructed by Yahuwah, and who can explain it to others? Why has the land been so ruined that no one dares to travel through it? Yahuwah replies, this has happened because my people have abandoned my instructions. They have refused to obey what I said. Instead, they have stubbornly followed their own desires and worshiped the images of Baal as their ancestors taught them. So now, this is what Yahuwah, the God of heaven's armies, the God of Israel, says. Look, I will feed them with bitterness and give them poison to drink. I will scatter them around the world in places they and their ancestors never heard of. And even there, I will chase them with the sword until I have completely destroyed them. Weeping in Jerusalem. This is what Yahuwah, the God of heaven's army, says. Consider all this and call for the mourners. Send for the women who mourn at funerals. Quick, begin your weeping. Let the tears flow from your eyes. Hear the people of Jerusalem crying in despair. We are ruined. We are completely humiliated. We must leave our land because our homes have been torn down. Listen, you women, to the words of Yahuwah. Open your ears to what he has to say. Teach your daughters to wail. Teach one another how to lament. For death has crept in through our windows and has entered into our mansions. It has killed off the flower of our youth. Children no longer play in the streets, and young men no longer gather in the squares. This is what Yahuwah says. Bodies will be scattered across the fields like clumps of manure, like bundles of grain after the harvest. no one will be left to bury them. This is what Yahuwah says. Don't let the wise boast in their wisdom, or the powerful boast in their power, or the rich in their riches. But those who wish to boast should boast alone in this, that they truly know me and understand that I am Yahuwah, who demonstrates unfailing love, who brings justice and righteousness to the earth, and that I delight in these things. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. A time is coming, says Yahuwah, when I will punish all those who are circumcised in body, but not in spirit, the Egyptians, Edomites, Ammonites, Moabites, the people who live in the desert and remote places, and yes, even the people of Judah. And like all these pagan nations, the people of Israel also have uncircumcised hearts. Right? So remember the other day when we started it off, and one of the guys was on Facebook. He asked the question. He asked about circumcision, right? I told you, Yahuwah constantly repeats it over and over and over again. It doesn't necessarily matter, although it was commanded by him that the men should be circumcised, right, and bear the physical mark of his covenant in their bodies. It doesn't matter that they have done that, but they still live like they're uncircumcised in their heart, like their actions don't line up with what we can physically see. We can physically see that you're marked. You carry the mark of Yahuwah on your male parts, right? But looking at your actions, no one could tell you belong to him. No one could tell you belong to that family, or even the nation for that matter, right? That's what Yahuwah says. He said right here, listen, verse 25. A time is coming, says Yahuwah, when I will punish all those who are circumcised in the body, but not in spirit. And he started to list them out. The Egyptians, Edomites, Ammonites, Moabites, the people who live in remote places, and yes, even my people, even the people of Judah. And like all these pagan nations, the people of Israel also have uncircumcised hearts, right? Boom. It's that principle of holding a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. Did I skip chapter 8, Levon? Look, I look. Hold on. That's what I paused for. I didn't skip it. I went back and looked. Let me just double check. And I know you probably just put this a few minutes ago. I didn't skip it, right? Did I skip it, y'all? Because that's what I was checking. Because I think hold on. Let me go back. I just looked at a couple of verses, but probably because I was listening to it today, maybe, hold on, let me double check, y'all. Ooh, I did. I looked at it, but I looked at the bottom verses. Hold on. I did. I was listening to it. It was fresh in my mind. I'm like, I definitely read that because I scrolled at some of the... I'm going to go back and read it, y'all. I knew it. I caught myself, but I was like, did I? Thank you, Levon. Thank you. I'm glad you posted that. See, the comments weren't up while I was reading this. Yes, I did. I skipped it. Let me go back. Thank you. Pull this back up. Yeah. Now that I done scanned through the whole chapter, I realized I heard it, but I didn't actually say it out of my lips this morning because I was up listening to Jeremiah this morning, and I was listening over the reading for the day. Okay, let's backtrack. Let's go back one chapter. Jeremiah chapter 8. Okay. In that day, says Yahuwah, the enemy will break open the graves of the kings and the officials of Judah, and the graves of the priests, prophets, and common people of Jerusalem. They will spread out their bones on the ground before the sun, moon, and stars, the gods my people have loved, served, and worshipped. Their bones will not be gathered up again or be buried, but will be scattered on the ground like manure. And the people of this evil nation who survive will wish to die rather than live where I will send them. I, Yahuwah, the God of heaven's armies, have spoken. Deception by false prophets. Jeremiah, say to the people, this is what Yahuwah says. When people fall down, don't they get up again? When they discover they're on the wrong road, don't they turn back? Then why do these people stay on their self-destructive path. Why do the people of Jerusalem refuse to turn back? They cling tightly to their lies and will not turn around. I listen to their conversations and don't hear a word of truth. Is anyone sorry for doing wrong? Does anyone say, what a terrible thing I have done? No. All are running down the path of sin as swiftly as a horse galloping into battle. Even the stork that flies across the sky knows the time of her migration, as do the turtle dove, the swallow, and the crane. They all return at the proper time each year, but not my people. They do not know Yahuwah's laws. How can you say, we are wise because we have the word of Yahuwah, when your teachers have twisted it by writing lies? These wise teachers will fall into the trap of their own foolishness, for they have rejected the word of Yahuwah. Are they so wise after all? I will give their wives to others, and their farms to strangers. From the least to the greatest, their lives are ruled by greed. Yes, even my prophets and priests are like that. They are all frauds. They offer superficial treatments for my people's mortal wound. They give assurances of peace when there is no peace. Are they ashamed of all these disgusting actions? No, not at all. They don't even know how to blush. Therefore, they will lie among the slaughtered. They will be brought down when I punish them, says Yahuwah. I will surely consume them. There will be no more harvest of figs and grapes. Their fruit trees will all die. Whatever I gave them will soon be gone. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. Then the people will say, why should we wait here to die? Come, let's go to the fortified towns and die there. For Yahuwah our God has decreed our destruction and have given us this cup of poison to drink because we sinned against Yahuwah. We hoped for peace, but no peace came. We hoped for a time of healing, but found only terror. The snorting of the enemy's war horses can be heard all the way from the land of Dan in the north. The neighing of their stallions makes the whole land tremble. They are coming to devour the land and everything in it, cities and people alike. I will send these enemy troops among you like poisonous snakes you cannot charm. They will bite you and you will die. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. Jeremiah weeps for sinful Judah. My grief is beyond healing. My heart is broken. Listen to the weeping of my people. It can be heard all across the land. Has Yahuwah abandoned Jerusalem, the people ask? Is her king no longer there? Or why have you provoked my anger with their carved idols and their worthless foreign gods, says Yahuwah. The harvest is finished, and the summer is gone. The people cry, we are not saved. I hurt with the hurt of my people. I mourn and am overcome with grief. Is there no medicine in Gilead? Is there no physician there? Why is there no healing for the wounds of my people? And then, of course, Jeremiah 9 now makes sense that Jeremiah will be picking up and saying, if my head were a pool of water and my eyes were a fountain of tears, I would weep day and night for all my people who have been slaughtered. Oh, that I could go away and forget my people and live in a traveler's shack in the desert, for they are all adulterers, a pack of treacherous liars, right? Okay, but we read all that already before we read chapter 8. My bad, people. I'm sorry. But I'm glad, Levon, you actually called it out so I could go back and read it again. I did. Devon Dana, yes. I did. I skipped it. I realized it. Look, if you watch me, I picked it up. I'm like, wait a minute. Did I skip? But I still didn't catch it for real because, like I said, I was up listening to it this morning. So it was fresh in my ears. So I'm like, yeah, I read over this, but I really hadn't, like, spoken it out of my mouth. But it seemed like I did. That's why I went ahead to 9. Then when y'all said, I'm like, ooh, let me just skim through the whole chapter and make sure. But yeah, I knew I hadn't when I saw the portion of the scripture where it says the king, they will scatter the bones of the kings throughout the land, and they're going to be scattered like dung, and nobody's going to be buried because ain't nobody going to be left, right? I was like, yeah, I didn't say this part out of my mouth. So Yeah, that's why I just read it again. Jatina, shalom. Josiah, shalom. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and hop on over here. So Fossilized Customs. And we left off on page 244. But I didn't actually mark the paragraph, so give me 1 second. Oh, that's right. So he was saying how you can't count the days by the moon, but I was saying if we use deductive reasoning, if we understand that you to use the sun, moon, and the stars by looking at the moon, even if you know the course and the counting of the moon, how it counts the Sabbath, I mean not the Sabbath, but the feast days, and how the 15th month is the 15th month, I'm sorry, the 15th day of the month is the full moon. Technically you can, by deductive reasoning, if you can remember certain points about the moon, it can help you number the days, right? All right, so that's where we left off at. Okay, so what is this? The second paragraph. All right, matter of fact, let's just start at the top. The scripture tell us anywhere we can find the weekly 7-day pattern in the sun or moon. It shouldn't be necessary to hunt it down, because if such a scheme were of the truth, it would be seen everywhere in scripture. The following is not what the scripture states. And Elohim said, "Let lights come to be in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and appointed times, and for days and weeks and years." No, it doesn't say the lights are for our weeks. The pattern of the week is not seen in the skies, right? Now watch very closely. Here's a few words which should show the distinction between a new moon and a Sabbath. Why are you going to him today? It is neither new moon nor the Sabbath. It's found in 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 23. This is the text describing the events in Shunem concerning the Shunammite woman, her son, and Elisha the prophet. Her son had just died in her lap. But the same text may cause some to make a federal case out of it, declaring it to mean that all new moon days are also days of rest from work. They even go to the extent of allowing new moon days to recalculate the weekdays without a single shred of evidence of scripture for doing so. You are exhausted by your many counsels. Let the astrologers, the stargazers, and those who prognosticate by the new moons stand up and save you from what is coming upon you. Isaiah chapter 47, verse 13. In the above text, these moon worshippers are equated with astrologers, stargazers, and witches. Both sun worshippers and moon worshippers will be devoured by fire, which they so fervently honor. Yahuwah will destroy his enemies, and his wrath at the end of days will consume them with fire. The moon was a deity among the pagans, and it ruled their lives as we see it echoed in the horoscopes of astrology today. Crystal gazing, tarot card reading, spell binding, and chants are exploding in popularity all over the earth, as seen by the success of the adventures in Harry Potter. Moon dances and rain dances are performed at powwows, where incarnations and circular dancing invoke divine aid in hunting, battle, fertility, or protection against disease. The elect can be drawn away from the sign of the everlasting covenant and be deceived into believing that they have not been. Certain texts of scripture seem to be telling us that each new moon is a Sabbath, but it doesn't actually state this in a resolute way. It's only arrived at by extrapolating or to broadly infer or estimate from known information. But clearly, see, you got to pay attention to the words, all right? You got to read very carefully, because some things can be I don't even think estimated is the correct word, right? But you have to, the way he's explaining this, and like I said before, the way he's explaining it and his words technically are true, right? But those who are actually calculating the times and calculating them appropriately wouldn't get thrown off by somebody who's just constantly talking about the moon, the moon, the moon, because we know you don't just use the moon to be able to calculate these things. You use the sun, the moon, and the stars. But he's saying it like, he's specifically talking about the group of people who only use the moon. And there is still a group of people that only use the moon today, right? And that's why some of this stuff is a little bit off. You see it being done in some of the Muslim nations from what I've seen. But you can't just use that, because it will throw you off. And you will know it's thrown you off if you just calculate it with only the moon. And your feast days are off sync, like especially unleavened bread or trumpets, different ones where you can clearly tell by the moon. Okay, so you say this is Passover, but there is not a full moon in the sky, right? So even the last couple of years, when they call Passover, I'm like, guys, there's not a full moon in the sky. You're celebrating Passover on the wrong day, right? So it's just little things like that. That's why you have to use them all in conjunction and not just call out one. And some of them just don't use anything at all, right? I don't know. I mean, they take somebody else's words and they calculate it on their words without kind of using some backup stuff and looking through data. And actually, I mean, you don't have to really do a lot of guesswork today. You can actually go to websites that track the weather, right? Because those that track the weather, they show you when the sun rises, when the moon rises and sets, and they'll even show you like the positions of the stars in the sky. So you can actually look at the data here and take that and actually go verify it in the sky, and you will see that most of it, for the most part, they're all correct. But the way they relate to one another and how you actually calculate it, they know how to do it, because they got it calculated appropriately. They just put information out there to keep it kind of vague with certain people that don't really understand what's going on and how to make they have you calculating according to the schedule and the calendar that everybody else is on, a Gregorian calendar, and throughout the years it's been Julian or whatever they done changed it to. But if you can understand that but realize it's superimposed over Yahuwah's original time clock, you can kind of begin to line them up. As the Gregorian calendar is changing and constantly moving, you can see how it moves over Yahuwah's fixed calendar that never moves. So this would be Yahuwah's calendar, which never moves, right? It's fixed forever in the firmament, right? And as the Gregorian calendar, which we're using now, is called now, it moves and circulates. We can begin to see what it is, and we can, it's really almost kind of like you can use it as a checks and balance to verify that you are on the right time with Yahuwah. But a lot of people, they may not still really understand it, and at first, when you first start looking into it, it may be a little confusing, right? That's why you actually have to go out, not just read about it in the book of Enoch, but actually go out and watch it day by day, and just go throughout the months and a year so you can track it. Pull up the data. Like the Moon app, I think is great, and I use a couple other ones now, even to track like the sun and look at the positions of the stars and stuff. So like all of those, right? It's even an app now to where you can take your phone outside, and or you can even be in your house at work. It works wherever you're at, and whatever your position is, wherever you're at on the earth, you can take your phone and kind of move it around, and it will show on your screen the positions of all the stars. It will call them out. It will even show the satellites that are up there, and you can go outside and look at it on your phone, like just something simple. Just find the sun or the moon. That's the biggest, the two biggest ones in the sky. And you take your phone around, and you will see, even during the daytime, at all times, the app will show you the position of all the stars. You may not actually be able to see the stars until night falls, right? But if you go out there, you will see it matches perfectly. I think the app is pretty friggin' amazing. It is pretty cool, right? Me and my kids be playing with it, like, oh, this is hot. And we'll go outside like, wait, yo, this is cool, you know? So you got stuff like that today that'll help you understand it a little bit better. Like I said, you can use technology, use it for its strengths, right? Until you can understand, you get familiar with it enough to where when you hear it, it doesn't sound foreign to you, right? You've heard it enough. You've seen it to where now you read it. Oh, that's what that's talking about. Oh, see, he playing, you can tell easily, he playing on words because we clearly know, like I be saying, we clearly know that we can't just use the moon. Although you hear me talking about the moon, if you listen to me long enough, you would know that you can't just use it by itself. You can use it to point out certain things, and you can deduct, if you understand that the sun and the stars are also calculated in this, you can deduct by looking at this at any given time. Okay, because this is here, because now I know when this is here during this time. Although we didn't mention, we know, but we're considering this information, and this is this, right? But sometimes some people don't get that, right? Yeah, Night Sky is one of them apps, Auntie Belinda Brown. She said Night Sky. Yes, that's the app I was talking about specifically, Night Sky. Yo, it's so good. And if you get the notifications for it, it'll let you know different nights. They say tonight is a great night for, and I know he just said it right here, stargazing. That stargazing, like what he was talking about, like worshiping, but literally getting out there and seeing the skies are clear where you can see a lot of these stars in the sky and just look and pay attention to it, right? So, but we would know when we get familiar with it, it won't be, especially when we come out to church, it won't be so spooky, scary, like, ooh, that's new age, that's witchcraft, they doing the Bible talk. No, guys, it's really common sense, right? It becomes familiar to you. I'm like, oh, that's what that's talking about. Yeah, they done took that completely out of context. So that's why I be bringing up stuff like this, and so you hear it, so I can break your state, because I still got some spooky people watching my channel, right? Because they'll send me inbox like, you need to be careful about that, sis. And, and I'm kind with them, I really am. But a lot of times I be done already took the time and responded to somebody else with some of the same stuff that different people are asking me, and I just keep all my responses saved, because sometimes the first time it just takes me a while to respond, and because I type it out, I want to make sure I get references and scriptures, things that you may not be aware of, right? So I treat it like, okay, you're missing information, let me share with you what I have, instead of going off on you like, get off my channel, what you talking about. I don't like to do that, right? Unless I clearly know that you coming for me, right? And you just trying to, I can spot them a mile away. Sometimes I ignore them, but sometimes I got the energy to go back and forth with you, right? And that, I'll go back and forth just to share. Are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this today, right? Look, when you come to my class, be ready with your receipts. Make sure you've done your homework. And if it's something that I might not have all the information on, I'd be like, oh, thank you for sharing that. Okay, let me go check that out. Well, you're right. Let me look at this. I didn't know that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. And those people, they're actually pretty kind. Be like, hey, go check this out. You might be interested. And I really will go check stuff out, because like I said, I don't know everything, but there are some things clearly by deductive reasoning and common sense, especially if you know how to work through a math problem as you get up in the different levels of math. It's no longer just simple addition and subtraction and even division. Now, when you're getting into equations, right, and you're getting into algebra, you have to you have to consider all these things, right, to work through the problem. See, before, it's just addition, so all you're doing here is just addition, or we're just learning about the daytime, so all we got is the moon. And then you go to subtraction, right? So now we're looking at another component by itself, right? The first one, maybe we're just looking at the sun, right? We're looking at that component all by itself during the daytime. Now we go to subtraction. Now we look at the moon. We look at it by itself and all the components related to it, right? And then once we got addition and subtraction down, the sun and the moon, now let's go into division. Now let's look at the stars, right? And how they're positioned and all these things. But now when we go to equations, now look at all of these things together. Oh, no, because remember the rules of this. And then you got to remember the rules of this. And then once you're getting here in the algebra, and you got these equations and you got parentheses and stuff, remember which comes first. And that's how people get equation problems wrong, because you try to work through the problem without calculating the things that's in the parentheses first, right? Remember the order of equations. It's almost literally the same thing. It's literally like the same think through process like you would do in math, right? And that's why I know growing up and going through some of my classes, I'm like, what I need to learn this for? Like this, why? I'm never going to need algebra from what I'm doing in life, right? I really, seriously, I get it, right? And a lot of people probably will not ever have to use algebra if they're not going to school or their career isn't like engineer or scientist or something, or even a math teacher. You truly probably will not need to do that. But here's the kicker. Although you may not be having to use and work through algebra problems and equations, the principle behind working through them, the critical thinking and reasoning and comprehension that you learn is the principle behind the equations. It teaches you how to do proper deductive reasoning, and you're going to use that everywhere in life. I'm like, I wish somebody would have taught me this while I was trying to say all these faulty arguments going through school and got bad grades in this. Like, if I had known, okay, listen, you may not be having to work these problems out, but let me teach you about the principle behind these equations, something you will use every day in your life, right? Simple thing, right? If you don't have comprehension or the ability to think through an equation in its proper step, think about when you leave out your house, right? Just something simple, right? Deductive reasoning, escape rooms and stuff like that. It's that same principle being used in life. You're not using equations, but you're using common sense deductive reasoning. I leave out my house in the morning. I lock up my windows, my doors. I cut off the lights, and I pull away. There's one car left in my driveway because maybe my husband has already left. I've taken the other truck, and the third vehicle is sitting in the driveway. Right? Boom. So I drive off and I come back home. Now, when I come back home and there's another car sitting in my driveway, but it's not the vehicle that my husband normally drives. Now, my critical thinking and my deductive reasoning that I've learned thinking through the process of equations and what you do first. Wait a minute. Who is this at my house? Deductive reasoning, common sense would tell me I'm driving my car. My husband is driving his truck. Our third vehicle is sitting in the driveway, but now there's a fourth vehicle that I do not recognize is sitting there. And not only that, but my windows are up. When I left out of my house, I clearly made sure my windows were down and I locked them. So look at this. I see that there's a car in my driveway and my windows in the front of my house are up. But first thing I look for, deductive reason gonna start kicking in. Wait a minute. I lock my windows and I lock my door. I lock my windows from the inside of my house. And I lock my door from the outside. I don't see broken glass. So, which means somebody, either they picked the lock on my door or they have a key to my house, right? Because my windows are not broken. It looks like they've been unlocked from the inside. Because there's no broken glass. You see what I'm saying? Deductive reasoning and common sense things. It's the same principle. So when people try and play on the words like this, well, you can't deduct this by just looking at them on clearly understand it. Because clearly, if you got common sense, if you know how to do deductive reasoning, you know there's some other things at play that have not necessarily been mentioned, but they have been considered in the process of calculating the sun and the moon and the stars and calculating the days of the week or the month. Y'all see what I'm saying? It's like that. And sometimes people they just don't stop and think, right? And then they want to fight with you. So, like I said, technically, his words on this page are true technically. But also, those who are learned or understand, yes, what you said is true. You cannot calculate the Sabbaths just simply based on the moon, right? You can't do that. You have to use also the sun and the stars and use all of them together, right? We know that, at least those of us, so we're not going to argue with you, right? But I may bring up the point if I know that there are other students around that's not considering or hasn't gotten to that level yet or hasn't considered that, but you haven't brought that up. You want to harp on the fact that you can't use the moon. Yeah, but what we're talking about now, we're in algebra and equations, right? So it's little things like that. So that's why I'm like, y'all got to be careful when you listen to people because they like to play on words, right? Instead of just going in arguing with people, just step back for a moment and consider all the information available. And even though you may not have all the information, it's kind of wise maybe just to ask a question or two, right? Or just kind kind of sit back and listen, hear it out, hear the matter completely through, then go back and do your own research and kind of just look at it, right? And so a lot of times we're taught not to do that, and then you have all these fruitless arguments among our people that leads to nowhere. People get high blood pressure, frustrated. You got these debates going on back and forth, and it's fruitless and it's unnecessary because they're not thinking. It's more ego. And I'm gonna tell you what I know and show you what I know and based on this, but you don't have all the information. You really don't, right? And just because you got a few pieces of truth doesn't mean that they don't have a few pieces of truth, right? Their truth doesn't negate your truth, right? His truth doesn't cross out your truth, right? You should put the pieces together so you can see the overall equation, right? You got the addition, he has the division, she has a subtraction. We're working on the equation here. We need the calculation of all these pieces to get to the proper answer, right? Come together. Let's work through this equation together, right? That's all I'm saying, y'all. It's simple things like that. But once I begin to get this, I pull back a lot. I'm like, oh, shoot. It's the same thing. Like, I can see it like every day, especially when you go through the Hebrew community, those waking up to the Hebraic roots to realizing we the children of Israel. We, the black folk, like all of this. I'm like, you got a piece of the puzzle, okay, but you ain't the only piece. Now everybody, all the rogue pieces standing off like they it. I'm like, y'all, listen, this problem is not going to work through itself. We got to all work through this. Come on, y'all. And everybody want to stand there. The addition standing over here. You got the subtraction people standing over here. You got the division people standing over here, all at odds, doing dance battles against one another. And the whole equation is still sitting here. And people over the parentheses and everything is like, look, what is they doing over there? You got this whole problem scattered all over the board. Don't nobody know what's going on. People over here waiting like, right? It's like, everybody get in your place. You gotta come over here. And it's so hard to talk to thick-headed people who just don't listen, right? It's just like, oh, you know what? We're gonna be here for a while. Yeah, I'll be back. Because they ain't, no. You should look. We're gonna be here for quite a few more years here in this wilderness here. They ain't paying attention. Jeez, you know what? 40 years later, my kids is grown. They still look. They ain't tired yet. Like, that's our folks. Everywhere. Look. Okay. The elect can be drawn away from the sign of the everlasting covenant and be deceived into believing that they have not been. We just addressed this. I'm rereading it. Certain texts of scripture seem to be telling us that each new moon is a Sabbath, but it doesn't actually state it in this resolute way. It's only arrived at by extrapolating or broadly inferring or estimating from some known information. Clearly, we just talked about that. We know that actually can be done, right? As you get further, you have to look at everything. We read the directives to open gates and curtains or to blow a shofar on a new moon. However, there is only one new moon spoken of on which no work is to be done, right? So yes, there is one new moon out of the year that is, in fact, a Sabbath of rest prescribed by Torah. Can we bear with one another in love, enduring such a difference between ourselves? We have to. Colossians chapter 2, verses 16 tells us, let no one therefore judge you in eating or drinking or in respect of a festival or of a new moon or Sabbaths, which are a shadow of what is to come. Even here, there is a distinction between new moons and Sabbaths, and they are shadows of what is to come. A shadow is understood to mean a metaphor or example of something else. It points to a coming reality like a rough outline, and it is a semblance and is insubstantial. If we condemn one another over an unreal, indistinct pattern, we are wrong even if we're right. If we get everything perfect yet lack love, we fail. Which we can kind of see that with the different pieces scattered all over the place. You got addition, you got those, they got the subtraction pieces, the division and stuff, right? If we got our pieces, but we fighting against one another. We trying to tell you that addition is right. This is how you do this. No, the subtraction is right. This is how you do this. Division is right. This is how you do all of this. They all are right, right? They all are right. But they don't have love for one another to see the truth that they also have too. You both are right. Like all three of you are right, right? Truth doesn't cross out truth, right? Truth will overcome error and will correct it. But all three of you are true. We're going to put all of you together and let's show you how you work so beautifully together in this equation over here, right? Let's see how you work together flawlessly to get the answer what everybody needs, right? And until all three of you can work together inside of this equation appropriately, doing a proper order of the equation, and we work it out, we'll come to the desired answer, right? But now we just got a scattered equation all over the place, right? And we're looking for the answer, but the answer is going to come from the people that need to solve the problem, right? You get in your place. When you get in a place, now we can begin to see, okay, this was this. Oh, wait, let's add the parentheses first and get the answer here now. Now you multiply this by that, boom, and go through there, right? So all of those parents who might be homeschooling their kids, I had to realize that, oh, shoot, I need to relearn how to do these equations for real, because there's a true principle that's being taught. There is mental discipline being taught by doing these equations. Because I ain't gonna lie. Even with homeschooling my kids, I'm like, I ain't gonna need this. This is just this. And I'm like, oh, and one day it hit me while I was taking a shower. I'm like, oh, snap. I need to add that back into their learning. Because although they may not become a scientist, not saying that they can't be, I was like, this is teaching them mentally how to think through stuff. I do not want to deprive my children of things like this. So we're going to work through this, right? I need to relearn how to do this so I can make sure you learn. We're going to sit here and we're going to watch this lesson together. I got my notebook. Okay, what they say I'm going to work through this problem myself. Hold on. Ma, is this right? I don't know. Give me a second. Hold on. What you got? You sure that's right? Mm-hmm. No, wait, hold on. Oh, yours is right. Darn it, Pam. Okay, what you just show me what you did? Like, seriously. That's how serious it is. I don't want to take something away from my children that could help them be better in life as overall people, and just being able to use common sense in daily life, being able to properly use their reasoning faculties and their critical thinking faculties while they're just out there living life. Like I said, even in daily interaction with people and on their jobs and stuff, right? Or their businesses, right? I tell you, like I'm telling you, this is like a whole nother level when you actually really begin to read through Torah and think through some of this stuff, because it really will grow you up mentally. While people thinking it was like I was treating this like those particular things, and I'm like, you don't need that. Let's not even waste time on that. I'll adjust this from your curriculum. You don't need that, but it really was needed. Even though you may think you may not need it, it just teaches another whole principle that you don't see until you actually see it. I'm 42 years old, and I just realized that this year. I'm like, Pam, you are a horrible homeschool teacher. I'm like, ugh, Jeremiah, come here. I need to add this back to you. Mom, what? Why? Now I got to deal with the kickback from him. But you said, why I need to do this? Look, I done injected my thoughts into my child because of my way of thinking, by the way, which I thought was right, that clearly I know now is wrong, right? Son, I'm sorry. I have deprived you of learning a principle. I ain't what I'm going to use this for? I'm not, even if I run y'all business, I'm not going to, do y'all need to do algebra problems while y'all installing this product for you? I was like, technically no, but so why do I got to, so now I got to deal with the monster I created, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, right? I was like, listen, son, let me explain to you why I was wrong. This is completely wrong. I should have never removed this from your curriculum. It's like the Torah. I should have never told you that the law was done away with. You need this. You need this to live. It's going to teach you how to grow up mentally, right? It's that same thing. Like when you see it, y'all can't unsee it. So we're going to pause right here today, because we had an hour and 4 minutes. And I know it's Sunday, but Well, my background is still quiet, but I hear them moving around, right? I hear them moving around. Well, we're gonna go ahead and end it right here. So I think that's a good point to end on, because this is actually still gonna go for a little while talking about this. So I think this is a good point to break it at today. So, but we'll pick it back up tomorrow, y'all. 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday morning, right? Okay, y'all. So it is Sunday. Happy Sunday, July 18, 2021, day 209 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 878. We read Jeremiah chapter 7, chapter 9, then chapter 8. Forgive me. I'm sorry. Well, we did read all 3 chapters. It's kind of out of the order of proper equations. I'm sorry, right? Deductive reasoning. Real quick, I did the whole thing, right? I just skimmed. I had heard it, but I didn't actually say it out of my mouth. But thank you for the checks and balances, Lavon and Auntie. You did skip chapter 8. Let's go back. Let's correct my mistake. Boom. Go through and we read it out of order, but we read it, y'all. We read it, right? Then we read Fossilized Customs, page 244 to page 245, right at the top. All right, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed the reading for today. So let's go ahead and do the blessing. Oh, it's my Aunt Belinda Brown, Aunt Gay. She put the app. I want y'all to go check the app out, the Night Sky, if y'all don't already have it. You can actually just go to your app store or Google Play and put in Night Sky, like night, Sunday night, spell night like you actually spell Sunday night or whatever. Put in Night Sky, SKY. Download it. Look at it. Go play with it. Stand inside your house and look at the constellations of stars and the positions of everything inside your house. And then as it gets later and you can actually see the stars, if you have clear skies, I want you to look at it and line it up and see how accurate it is, y'all. It's so cool. See, Cambridge, thanks. So, but yeah, y'all got to, I'm just saying, just start going to test some of these things, right? So that way, when we realize that there is misprints or maybe misinterpretations of things, especially in books we read and also even in scripture, because like I said, it is not infallible. Yahuwah's words and Yahuwah is infallible. But sometimes the translations, and a lot of times the translations of the Bible, don't matter if it's the KJV, NIV, NLT, ESV, the Good News Version. Whatever version, they all got some misinterpretation. But if you go out and you test what you can see, you can bring in a proper perspective and a proper understanding of what this should say, right? And some people, they don't do that. They just like, KJV is it. That's all we use. It's everything from the beginning to the end. I get it. I get where your level of understanding is at this moment, and that's okay, because you're not done growing. Well, hopefully you aren't done growing, right? And I'm patient with people, right? And I stopped doing that. Oh, you wrong. I stopped doing that. I didn't do that for too long, but I realized, ooh, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, right? Stop spouting salt and vinegar, y'all. Not saying that y'all are, but from personal experience, it don't work. It actually pushes people away, right? But when you honey, look, my name. Like you know how you look up names, or you got the baby names or whatever, and they'll tell you where it derives from or what scripture is attached to your name. It says Pamela. The scripture that it gives is I forget, but it's in Proverbs, but it means as sweet as honey, right? I'm like, hey, you know what, that's kind of fitting for me. I said, at one point I was like, yeah, I ain't so sweet, right? I need to fix that, right? So. But I like to deal with people, because notice how people are drawn to sweet stuff, right? But you got to truly be sweet and pure. You don't want them to get over there and find out you stinking and you putrid and you covered up this funk with something good, because eventually, let the sun shine hot enough or bright enough, that stank gonna come through, right? It has to be thoroughly cleansed and covered in good smelling stuff, so it penetrates the soul appropriately, right? It's just not sweet stuff covering up the stank, right? And flies, they drawn to either one. They drawn to stank and sweet stuff. But I'm just saying, y'all get what I'm saying. truly be sweet, right? So when they find out, even when the sun starts shining bright and the sweetness is melting, all this is, it's still a sweet aroma, right? It's still sweet. So be sweet as honey, y'all. When you're teaching the people the truth, even if they don't quite understand like you understand at the moment, it's okay. Give them some patience. Let them work out their own salvation, right? Let them work out the salvation of their own souls as they grow. We all have to go through that process, and it's personal, right? So be patient with people. Give them room to grow just like you need room to grow, right? We don't want people coming down on us, or you made a mistake, you's a heretic, and they're not really a heretic. They're just learning. They're still growing. They had something wrong. They adjusted, right? So you look at people overall life. If you see that they're adjusting, okay, I can work with these type of people because they might be wrong right now, but they're going to get it. I got faith that they're going to get it because they're constantly looking. They're moving to adjust things. And them people you can work with, right? So I'm just saying, be patient with people. I know it's kind of hard with some. But can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all. Go on about your business, right? Like Tab say, look, don't you dare go messing up nobody else's here. Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow. Man or woman can take it. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, on this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, may Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. Yeah, I see. Y'all hear it right on time. She said, I just got down here.
I just got down here with that.
I see. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. All right, hold on, girl. Let me say bye. She about to hang y'all up. Okay, y'all. I'll see y'all back here tomorrow morning. 7:15 a.m. Girl, you need to put on some lip gloss. 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.